Maybe instead of chasing your passion, you could be pursuing your purpose. Is this still my dream? I think it's okay to audit your life and ask yourself, does it expand me? If I don't do this, will I always wonder? Maybe your passion just needs to be a side hustle or a hobby. It doesn't always have to be your career. Time is running out on you. You're here for a flicker. Don't wait.
We are most qualified in our life to help the person or people we used to be. Your decisions shape your destiny, everybody. What I really pray for you is that you find your version of fulfillment, your version of heaven while you're living here on earth. And I can promise you, it's by finding your calling, using your gifts, and contributing to other people. Think about who you admire. Ask yourself what some of those gifts are, and eventually you're going to find your home.
Welcome back to the show. So you're going to see a change in the show between now and the end of the year. It's been no secret that I've had a few health issues the last couple of years. Heck, I haven't even posted on social media in a few years. But we've been coming strong with 3 podcasts a week, even during that time. Well, between now and the end of the year, I'm going to scale it down a little bit, but give more value. So what I'm going to do is I've created a masterclass that's going to come out on Tuesdays, and you'll still get your Saturday episodes. We're going to take a pause on Thursdays. But every Tuesday, you're going to get a masterclass from me that I've created to help you finish 2025 strong and go into 2026 and make it the best year of your life. I'm calling this masterclass Max Out Your Mind, Faith, Focus, and Fire, mastering your internal world so you can navigate your external world. It's going to come out every single Tuesday. I think you're going to love it. All right, guys, let's jump into this week's lesson. This is all about calling and about living in your purpose. I think you're going to enjoy this. Share it if you do.
So we've been discussing an awful lot lately, finding more bliss in our lives, the pathway to more happiness, because it's probably the question that I get asked the most. In our last program, I was discussing the prevailing thought in the world today, which is that lots of money will lead you to happiness and fulfillment. And I want to be clear with you. I've been happy when I was poor, and I've been happy rich, and it is clearly my contention, I want to be clear with you, that happy rich is better, because you can do more things for people when you have money, for the people you love, for the causes that you believe in. I don't want you to confuse the idea that if once I get money, then I'll be happy. But I'm not confused into thinking that that money, this wealth, living oceanfront, they necessarily make you happy, because no matter where you go in your life, you have to bring you with you. So if you can't learn to be happy when you don't have all these things you think you want, I can promise you won't be happy when you do have all of them. Finding your calling. If you want fulfillment in your life, it's going to be long-lasting and enduring. It's not going to be things. It's not going to be money. I understand that having money can help you do many things for other people, and we're going to talk about that in the program. What I believe about fulfillment is that if you can find your calling, if you can find your purpose, your mission in your life, that's the pathway to not just happiness, but a level past that, which is fulfillment. So let's talk today a little bit about finding our calling. And I get asked often, how do I do that? I don't know what my calling is. I don't know what my mission is. Here's what I can tell you, that when you do find it, you will know. There'll be a peace about you. There'll be an intuition you'll have that it's just a knowing, this is where I belong. This is what I was born to do. And so I want to dispel a couple myths. Number one myth that I hear is that your career has to be your calling, has to be your mission. You know that adage of, once you find something you love, you'll never work another day again in your life. And that's completely true. But I'm just going to be very real with you. For many of you, you're going to find a career that is your calling and your mission and your purpose. And you're going to be blessed that what you do for a vocation is also your calling and your career. But that is not the case for everybody. Sometimes your calling, your mission, your crusade, your purpose is not your career. I think it's important to try to find a way with your work that can best suit your mission and purpose and calling. But for some of you listening to this, you've been trying all your life to find a career that is your calling. Well, what if your calling isn't a career? What if you're supposed to make a bunch of money at your job or your business, and you're going to take that money and you're going to use that towards your calling and your mission and your purpose? In other words, your career, your business is to generate income, revenue, that's going to fund your calling and your purpose and your mission. I can tell you that I have many friends whose job or their business they had wasn't their real calling. But they made a lot of money, and that's why making a lot of money is so wonderful. They made a lot of money in their initial career or business, and that money, what they did with it, became their calling and a career. So I just want you to consider, yes, you should be trying to find a job or a business within alignment with your cause. But perhaps that's not the case. One of the reasons so many people are lost is they're only trying to find their calling and their mission and their purpose in a job, in a career. And that may not be the case. That job and that career may be where you're going to fund your calling and your career on the side. And that leads me to point number 2. I hear all the time about side hustles. Well, what about a side mission? What about a side cause, a side crusade? See, maybe you're going to have a job, and in that job where you're planted right now, it's not what you were called to do as your ultimate contribution to the world, but it's where you're planted, so you should win there. You should give it all you've got and start a side cause, start a side mission, a side crusade, a side calling. In other words, don't always connect your career to your cause. Maybe you're going to work from 9 to 5 every day somewhere, and when you leave there on the side, you're going to do something that's your calling. And maybe that calling doesn't even require capital. Maybe it's something you're going to do in your side hours. So I don't want you to confuse number 1 always that your calling has to be your career. It would be great if it was. If that aligns with your skills, terrific. But that's not going to happen for everybody. So number 2, maybe you've got to make a lot of money in your business so that you can take that money and help fund and create that cause, crusade, or mission you have. Maybe number 3, that job you have is never going to fund you a ton of money, but you're going to create a side cause, a side crusade, a side mission, a side calling. And so be thinking about this. These are the pathways to fulfillment. And so it may be your career, it may be making a lot of money in your career, it may be that when you leave that career at the certain time of day, you get to change and put your Superwoman cape on, your Superman cape on, and that's when you decide to donate time. Perhaps that calling, a crusade or mission, that side mission of yours involves money. So you've got to have a job that generates a lot of money so you can fund that. Maybe it's not that at all. There are millions of things that could be your calling. You could be donating time at a shelter. You could be in charitable work. You could be working with children. And I think that's the misnomer, is that I hear people all the time think their calling has to be something they monetize. So many people whose calling is to work with children. And so they've got a job full time, but they coach Little League. They're involved in different young women's groups, the Girl Scouts, you name it. That's their calling, is to work with children. I know other people where it's to work with the homeless. They've got a job, but they found fulfillment towards working with the homeless. There are any number of callings or causes or missions or crusades that will fill your heart. It could be any number of things could be your calling and your crusade and your side mission, not necessarily your job. That's why this notion that you can't be fulfilled if you're not making money is ridiculous. What if your calling is to be a mother and to raise your children? You're not going to make a lot of money doing that, but for you, it would fulfill you beyond any other thing you'd ever choose to do in your life. All of us are wired differently. In my case, most of the things that are my calling involve serving other people. I happen to be blessed that the initial business I've had and that I still run to this day serves people and contributes to people. I've been able to take the wealth I've made, and it's afforded me the time to invest in all kinds of children's causes that I'm passionate about, family causes that I'm passionate about, and that money was important in giving me the time to do it. Also allows me to write the checks towards those causes that I want to help and support as well. And so for me, the pathway was career and making a lot of money. It's what I'm doing with you right now. I make no money doing this. My content is completely free to you. My books are free. My audios and videos are free. So are you telling me I can't become fulfilled because I'm not making money helping you right now? That's ridiculous. And so the next point is, always your calling will be somehow contributing to other people. Your mission, your purpose, your calling, your crusade will always involve helping other people somehow. Next point, it will involve natural giftedness you have. I've talked about this in previous audios. You were wired when you were born with natural giftedness and some talents that you've developed over time as well. You were born and you've developed incredible gifts in your life. It could be your gift for kindness, for compassion, for intensity, for learning, for teaching, for speaking, for listening, for humor, for a musical instrument, your math skills, your engineering skills, your problem-solving skills, your inspirational skills. There's all kinds of talents, all kinds of gifts people have. Maybe it's the gift of touch. Maybe it's your vision as a leader and what you can see in the world. But you were given special gifts. Don't shortchange yourself. The pathway is almost always through your gifts. That may or may not be your career. This is where we begin to move towards our mission, our cause, and our crusade. The next thing I would suggest you do is ask yourself a powerful question. Who do you admire? Who are some of your role models, some of your heroes? And begin to think about that. Why do you admire them? What are the things they've done or the attributes you have that you admire so much in them? I can tell you this is going to be one of the most powerful things you're ever going to hear. The things you admire and see in them You have a sense, a deep sense, an intuition that some of those same qualities exist in you. And that's why you're drawn to them. That's why you admire them. So ask yourself, who are some of my heroes? Who are some of the people I admire? And what were the traits in them that I admire so deeply? Maybe it's their passion, their loyalty, their vision, their speaking skills, their physical beauty, their entertainment ability, their kindness, their generosity. But I can tell you right now that the things that you admire in them, that hero of yours, the seeds of those same gifts lie within you. Now you have to ask yourself, this is my giftedness, I admire this. How could I use those same attributes towards contributing to other people? It may be a completely different track, a completely different path, but it'll be utilizing some of the same gifts in your way. You may not have the exact same abilities they've had. I know you hold them up in high regard, but remember, those are all children of God too. Those are all just people as well. And all they did was magnify the 3 or 4 magical gifts that you just listed in them towards the benefit of other people. You're going to take those same gifts you have and you're going to contribute towards other people and magnify them in your way. But the pathway to that passion is often through our role models and our heroes. Ask yourself who those people are and what those attributes and gifts are. The next key is try some things. Try a side hustle, try a side business, try a side crusade, try a side mission. I'd encourage you to try to find a business that can deliver on your cause and mission, because it would be great that you could monetize it, because that monetization is a magnifier of the contribution you could make, because that monetization will give you more money towards those causes in different ways. But in my case, for example, I just knew I wanted to serve people and I knew that I wanted to make a difference in the world. And once I started chasing that path and I thought, some of my gifts are, I love people, I'm a good listener, I'm pretty compassionate, I'm a pretty good communicator, I'm really intense, I'm a hardworking person. I don't have a ton of gifts, but those are some of mine. And once I started to point that towards my business life, it magnified outside of my business into different charities I was involved in, and different business ventures I was involved with, different social settings, and all of those things started to be part of my cause, mission, and crusade that's led to me and you here today. If you'd have told me 20 years ago that I'd be one of the top peak performance, life strategists, personal development people in the world, I'd have thought you were crazy. So this road has led somewhere I never envisioned, but it started by me starting to think about the things I admired in my role models. I noticed some of those same attributes I had, and I just started trying different things through business, through social, through philanthropic deeds. So I would challenge you this, you gotta try, start to get moving, take action. Try one thing, it may not be for you, try another, but eventually you're gonna try one and you go, this is home. This is where I belong. I've got this sense. It's almost like dating. It's not usually the first person. You've got to try different dates, different people, and then eventually, there's just some failures. Eventually, you find the one, and you're home. When you try different businesses, different side hustles, different side missions, side crusades, it could end up being that, it could be anything. It could be that you start making coats for the homeless part-time. You start feeding people at Thanksgiving. It could be anything, but once you start trying, what are my gifts? Who do I admire? How could I start to take this to other people and start trying different things? Start to live your life. You got to stop thinking and start acting. Start taking action. This is the key. And eventually, like dating, you're going to find the one eventually that's home for you. Everything I've said prior, you needed to hear first. I will never lead with money. I will never lead with material things when I coach and mentor you. So I've tried to lay this foundation of all the contributions you could make. I'm not delusional enough not to know that many of you who follow me, you want to be wealthy. You want to be a multimillionaire. You want to be able to travel and do the things you want to do in your life, and the material things and getting wealthy is important to you. I want to challenge you to go get stone-ass wealthy, because let me say something to you about that. I know what it's like to do it. And if you have first laid the foundation that you know that's not going to make you happy. You've laid a foundation, which is why I've taken the entire beginning of the video and middle about the foundation. Once you've laid a foundation that my bliss, my fulfillment is going to come through my crusade, my mission, my calling, the difference I want to make in other people's lives, the contribution I want to make. Once that's the foundation and you understand this first, for those of you in your heart, you got a burning desire to go get wealthy. Once you've laid that foundation, you need to go do it. Because those of us that have that foundation first, only through getting wealthy can you make that big difference in the world. You want to know the greatest thing about being wealthy? I don't ever have to be anywhere I don't want to be. Think about that for a second. What if you could live a life where you don't ever have to go anywhere you don't want to go. You don't have to be around people you don't want to be around. You have to go to places you don't want to be. And neither does anybody that you love and care about. That type of total freedom of time is why I'm so excited about being wealthy above everything else. Because now I'm totally free to choose what I do with my life. I decided once I got wealthy, because I had laid this foundation, because I worked at a group home with orphan boys. My home was making a difference in these precious little boys' lives. They needed someone to believe in them and love them and give them tools to live their lives better. And I found that there, and I invested my entire heart. Right there, I knew this is where I belong. And it was from that path. That was the first path. That's why I talk about chasing things. That was the first place I started serving people. And then it led to business. And then it led to other places. Once I got free of my time, I found fulfillment, because what I'm doing with you right now is my home. It's my calling. You are just an extension of my first 8 boys at McKinley Home for Boys. I started with 8 to 10-year-old boys, 8 of them. And now I end up reaching millions of people multiple decades later. But it's the same path. My calling is to contribute. It's to use the life skills I've developed. It's to use the fact that I was an insecure and shy person, and I needed to learn how to build self-confidence. I learned how to the brain work, how to think better, how to perform at my peak. I needed to learn how to really, truly become happy, because I wasn't. I needed to learn what's my pathway to fulfillment. I used some of the gifts I listed earlier with those boys, and I'm using them with you now. That's my home. But the best part of being wealthy is my time is mine. I get to spend about every minute of most every single day doing my calling. It's no longer a side hustle. It's a full-time crusade. It's a full-time mission in my life. And I think that's why I feel so fulfilled most of the time in my life. Doesn't mean I don't have bad days. Doesn't mean I'm not down. But I'm most alive when I'm doing this with you right here. It's the greatest honor of my life, is contributing to other people, starting with my own family. But for me, that pathway had to come through wealth to free up the time. I didn't want to spend an hour or two a day. I didn't want to reach just 8 or 10 or 20 people. I want to reach millions of people, and eventually billions of people, through my message, through my trainings, through the tactics and strategies I teach, through the way of thinking that I teach people. And so now the platforms have allowed me to do it as well. But it started out with finding my home. It started out with thinking about the people I admired and what were their gifts and traits. Why did I admire that in them? Because I had some of those same gifts in my own unique way. Now, Dr. Martin Luther King was one of my great heroes. He had this amazing ability to speak and to inspire, and he talked about dreams all the time. And I started to think, I'm a dreamer. I can speak. I can contribute. I can inspire. I love people. I believe in people. I'm non-judgmental of people. And I found my way of taking those gifts I saw in him. Mine weren't anywhere near on the scale his were, and neither do yours need to be about your heroes. I'm not deluded into thinking I'm as good a speaker or as good a man as he was, but I saw things in him. I knew his intentions were good. I knew mine were. And I started to do that same stuff with 8 and 10-year-old boys in the group home. And then it magnified and the pathway led. That's how it's going to happen for you. This is truly how we find our calling in our life. And it's truly how we find fulfillment. And so for those of you that want to be wealthy, let's go get it. I want that. There's a whole segment of people that need to go get wealthy to fulfill their mission. Not everybody, though. Some people, their mission is to teach school, or to be a pastor, or to be a nurse, or to be a mother. And that's what's going to fulfill them. And I'm not confused to think that the mothers listening to this that are making a difference in the precious children's lives they touch, or the school teachers that I know, or the people that work in special needs, or for the Special Olympics, or spend their time in charities. I'm not deluded to think I'm more fulfilled than them. That's not true at all. My fulfillment came through this path. Their fulfillment came through that path. But what we all have in common is we're using our gifts that we were given towards the service and contribution of other people. That's the calling, and we've all found our version of home, and you can as well. So finally, ask yourself this question. What would you do if you had all the time in the world to do whatever you wanted to do? What would be the things you'd be doing? I know you'd say, I'd be sitting on that beach out there, Ed. And you would for a while, trust me. And maybe you should try it once you get wealthy. But you can only play so many golf courses. You can only sit on so many beaches. And guess what? Sitting on that beach is going to make you very happy. Playing a great golf course is going to make you very happy. Going to an incredible restaurant is going to make you very happy. But there'll be a point where it's just not enough just being happy. You're going to want to be fulfilled. And so get a level past that. If your time was all yours, how would you spend it? Who would you be helping? What would the difference be that you're making? What are some of those gifts you've got that are unique to you? And stop beating yourself up for real. What are some of those gifts? Is it your intentions? Is it your heart? Is it your faith? Is it your voice? Is it your beauty? Is it your humor, your articulation, your critical thinking skills? What is your gift? There's 2 or 3 of them, and when you uncover them and you point them in a direction, that path eventually will lead to somewhere that is total fulfillment for you. And so today, I hope this helps you just start to think a little bit more deeply about what would make me fulfilled. Is it really money? Or is it finding my purpose? Is it finding my passion? Is it finding my cause, my crusade, my mission? For some of you, that doesn't require money at all. And for many of you, it does. And I want to help both of you get there, and I want you to both be acknowledged for the incredible difference you make in your life. My prayer for you is that you find happiness, but what I really wish for you, what I really pray for you, is that you find your version of fulfillment, your version of heaven while you're living here on earth. And I can promise you, it's by finding your calling, using your gifts, and contributing to other people. And it's just a matter of starting to try different things. Think about who you admire. Ask yourself what some of those gifts are, and eventually you're going to find your home.
And I think passion is great. In an ideal world, we'd be doing something every second of every day we were passionate about. And so some people are fortunate enough that they get to do that. They're passionate about their sport and they're a professional athlete, or they're passionate about their music and they play music full time. Although there'd be elements of their careers that they're not passionate about that they still have to do every single day. Maybe you should pursue this, or at least 9 thoughts about pursuing passion and the alternatives that exist. And again, I would love the fact that everybody did everything passionately every single day, but we also live in the real world. And so today we're going to talk about, instead of just chasing your passion, here's something you could chase or something to think about. So here's 9 thoughts. Number 1, maybe instead of chasing your passion, you could be pursuing your purpose. There's a little bit of a difference between those 2 things. And when I find people that are in pursuit of their purpose, there's a deep passion that comes with that, but there's also a calling that comes on top of it. The source of that purpose, ironically, is pain. That oftentimes in life, if you're struggling with finding your purpose, the first thing I would say to you is take a look at pain in your life, a painful experience, a painful moment. And you may find in that pain, your purpose will be born. Oftentimes, I have people that are incredibly passionate about raising money, let's say, for a cause for cancer. And I'll find out later that it's because they lost a parent or a sibling to cancer. And so if you're struggling to find your passion, maybe you should look for your purpose. And if you're trying to find your purpose, it could come from a lot of different places, but oftentimes if you review pain, I really believe this deeply, that God gives us something for our pain. He'll give us a lesson, a purpose, a relationship, an insight, a breakthrough, a new emotion. Something is given to us. And I really believe successful people, they just have a different relationship with pain. I've had very successful people on my show in a lot of areas, but I had Phil Heath on my show, who's won a bunch of Mr. Olympia bodybuilding contests. And I said, Phil, why do you think you're so successful at bodybuilding? And one of the things I concluded in the interview myself was he just has a different relationship with pain. And everybody that's in bodybuilding goes through painful experience, let's say on leg day. But when you're the greatest of all time or one of the greats, you just pursue it even deeper, that after your legs are breaking or you're throwing up, you go back and you get more because there's a benefit to the pain you're going through. Most successful people look at pain differently. It's not something that they're ashamed of. It's not something to necessarily be avoided. That oftentimes they'll pursue it because they know in that they get a gift on the other side of it, whether that's bigger legs than you in a bodybuilding contest or a bigger business and a bunch of wealth for the pain you go through, or if you survive a difficult time in a relationship, an even better level of that relationship, or maybe it's none of those things and you get a lesson, you get a gift, you discover a talent or an insight. Maybe you discover a mission and a purpose. And so take a look beyond passion. And I'd love, again, for everything to be passion. And if you have that, wonderful. But oftentimes a deeper level, even than passion, can be purpose, cause, mission, crusade. And so that's number 1 thought on it. Number 2 thing to evaluate whether you should continue to do what you're doing is ask yourself this question. When I do my job, when I do my career, does it juice me? Does it energize me? Does it bring me energy? Or does it just take away my energy? I think a real telltale sign of whether something is something you should do long term is when you're doing it and you're doing it well. Does it energize? Does it juice you? Does it take you to a different level? or does it just deplete you and drain you? If what you do when you're even doing it well just takes away your energy, it just depletes you, it's probably not the thing you should be doing long term. The reason I'm covering this today is I think there's a big part of our culture today, myself included, evaluating what should I be doing? Is this still my dream? I think it's okay to audit your life and ask yourself, is this still juice me? Does this still energize me? Is the dream I've been pursuing, the thing I've been doing, give me the energy that it once did, or does it no longer do that? I think reflection and self-auditing and self-awareness about whether something energizes you or it doesn't, maybe it used to and it doesn't anymore. And so I would evaluate that. That's thought number 2. Third, does it meet my needs? And does it meet my needs now? Not does it meet my needs before, but is what I'm doing now meeting my need? There's 6 human needs, and there's the need for certainty in our lives, stability and certainty. Ironically, inverse of that, there's the need for uncertainty or variety, spontaneity. That's a need that we have in our lives. These aren't wants, they're needs. Need number 3, depending on how you stack them up, is the need for significance or recognition, acknowledgement. That's a human need that we all have. The 4th need is the need of love and connection. It's a real need that we have as humans. The 5th need is the need for growth, to expand, to grow, to improve. And the 6th need is the need for contribution. In my opinion, at any given time in your life, 1 or 2 of these needs are your dominant need. And oftentimes in life, once those needs are fulfilled, it may not be your primary need anymore. Ask yourself, if your primary need is growth, is what you're doing giving you growth? A lot of times people say, I don't know why I'm not passionate or I don't really feel a purpose in what I'm doing anymore. It's because your dominant need is growth, and what you're doing, you're already great at and requires no growth of you. So it's to know what your need is so critical in knowing what to chase. And maybe growth used to be your thing and it's not anymore, and you've been doing the same thing forever. And although you loved it at one time and it's still really good, you got a dominant need for variety. And what you're doing doesn't give you that. And perhaps finding something that gives you that. It's looking at those 6 needs, the needs for certainty, uncertainty, significance, love, growth, or contribution. At any given time, you got 1 or 2 of them, and they change throughout life. Oftentimes when we get an overwhelming amount of one of those needs fulfilled, it's being met and it's no longer our dominant need. For example, many, many years ago, if you wanted me to come give a speech to your company, I have a big significance need. I'm not sure that that's ever going to go away, but you said, hey, give a big speech and there's going to be thousands of people there. And when you're done, they're going to give you an award and they're going to stand up and clap and they're going to love you. I'd say, I'll go there because that was a need of mine. Now, if that was what you were going to say to me, that probably wouldn't get me to go. My needs now are more contribution related. So now to get me to go, it's a different lever you'd have to pull, different leverage. In my case, now to get me to go there, if you said, hey, we really need you, and we know you can make a difference, you could change people's lives, you'd get my attention because that's more my need. And so I think you look for the catalyst that turns your chain a little bit. So 3rd is, does it meet my needs? Number 4, does it expand me? I think at any given time, we as human beings have a desire to expand. I often say I'm addicted to the expansion of my being. All human beings deep down want to expand, want to improve, want to change. But us as a being, as a person, that has to be intentional. And there's something we need to pursue in our life. The pursuit of that change, the pursuit of that expansion is something to ask yourself. Is what I'm doing causing me to do that? Number 5 thing of whether you should be doing something or not doing it. I think you got to ask yourself this question. If I don't do this, will I always wonder? If I don't do this, will I always wonder? I think at the end of our lives, we don't regret the things we've tried and failed because lessons come with that. Wisdom comes with that. I think at the end of our lives, and I've been blessed to be around several people at the end of their lives, if they have regrets, it's the things they did not attempt. It's the times they lived scared. Many people live their entire lives afraid. They never step out and do it. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to get to the end of my life and always wonder. I think one of the questions you have to ask yourself about whether this is something I pursue or not is, can you live with it if you didn't? At the end of your life, can you say, I would never wonder whether this worked and I don't care? But if there's a party that says, I wonder whether this could have worked, I wonder whether this business could have worked, this idea could have worked, my music could have worked, my writing, my speaking, my relationship, whatever it is, if you're going to wonder at the end of your life, whether it could have worked, then I think that's an indication that's something you're going to pursue. And if you don't have that desire or that conflict internally, then I don't think it's something worthy of your pursuit necessarily. Maybe it was at one time and it's not anymore. My sixth thought about whether you should pursue something or not is this. Ask yourself this question. Does this take advantage of any of my talents or giftedness? There's nothing more frustrating than watching somebody doing something every single day of their life that isn't a talent, isn't a gift, they don't have a proclivity for. I think oftentimes when you find somebody that's really happy, they have found their purpose or their passion, and then they're taking advantage of a natural talent or gift they have to utilize it in the service of other people. So there's really three elements. There's a purpose, then they use a talent or gift they have or a proclivity, and then it's in the service of other people. Those three things really make up whether something is something you should be pursuing and spending your time at. So ask yourself, does this take advantage of a talent that I have or a skill, which are different things? Talent is something you're kind of born with. Skills are something you can learn. But ask yourself that question. Does this take advantage of one of my talents or my skills or my experience? Do I bring something to the table that gives me an advantage at this? Even with my kids, same thing. When they're looking for careers they're going to pursue, I would hope, and I've told them, to try to find something that takes advantage of their 3, 4, 5, 6 gifts that are unique to them. And when you find somebody really good at something, typically they've got some sort of natural talent, proclivity, skill, or experience that sets them up to be great at it. There's nothing more awesome in life than whatever you do, being great at it. You're a professional pool player, you're a landscape architect, or a landscaper, or a business person, or a school teacher, or a neurosurgeon, or you work at a bank. Whatever it is that you do, there's something awesome about being great at what you do and pride in what you do. So number 6 is, does it take advantage of my giftedness, of my talents? Number 7 is, maybe your passion just needs to be a side hustle or a hobby. Doesn't always have to be your career. You could spend something from 9 to 5 every day that pays the bills. After that time, you pursue your passion, or you side hustle it. It's a second business that you have, or it's a hobby. A lot of times you don't have to monetize your passion. You don't have to monetize your purpose. Maybe your purpose is to spend time in your church or a philanthropic cause that you're passionate about. You're not going to make any money doing that, but it also doesn't need to be your career, or it could be, but it doesn't have to be. So maybe your passion, your purpose is not a career at all. I think there's this misnomer that my career has to be my passion or has to be my purpose. Oftentimes, we also have to support our families, and maybe it's after that time, or maybe we're going to work in a side hustle for 3, 4, 5 years or a decade so that we can leave our job and pursue our passion or our purpose. But not every day necessarily. In an ideal world, you'd be passionate and your purpose would be your career. But another thought I have about it is that potentially maybe it isn't, and maybe that's your side hustle. Number 8, if you're trying to find your purpose or your passion, take a look at somebody that you admire. You might find your passion or purpose through them, and it may not even be correlated. Think of somebody that you really admire, and if you look at their personality traits or something they did, that usually leaves a clue to something that matters to you. Who do you admire? Take a list of the 2 or 3 people you admire the most. And what about them do you admire that could correlate that you could find a purpose? Is it a character that they have, a personality trait, a mission? I don't know. Could it be a skill? It could be something they have that sort of leads you to connect with your purpose and your passion. And then last, and I think this is a big one, number 9, I want to remind you of something, my thought on it. Time is running out on you. Time's running out on you. I talk oftentimes about the weapons of the adversary uses, or just negative things in our life, we could call it, which is there's doubt, there's discouragement, there's delusion, and then there's delay. Too many people are delaying in their life and not trying things. Matthew McConaughey said on my show, and I tend to agree with this, that sometimes it's a process of elimination. You got to try a bunch of things to figure out what you don't want to do. And too many people are delaying and waiting, and they think they've got all the time in the world. There was a whole long window of time before you were born, and there's going to be a whole long window of time after you're gone. The time you're here is so small. Think about this. How much time existed in the world before you? It's a long time. And how much time will exist after your physical body is here? You're here for a flicker. You're here for a short window of time. It's scary to even think about it. And so don't delay. Don't wait. Too many of you are waiting. You're sitting on your book. You're sitting on your great idea. You've got all this great music within you that you're not playing yet in your life because you're waiting to be perfect. You're waiting for the right time. You're waiting for the right inspiration. You're waiting to be sure this is the thing. You're only going to know until you try it. Process of elimination. That's not the thing. That's not the thing. This is the thing, right? And so I think my ninth thought on this is profound for you, which is stop delaying, stop waiting, get in the game. Time's running out. I got to be honest with you. Just yesterday, my babies were being born. They're both out of the house now. Life is short. You got to quit delaying. You got to get after it. You got to try now. Get in the habit of doing things now. People that win do more things now. People that tend to struggle in life, wait, delay, deliberate. I'm not saying don't plan, don't prepare, but some of that's overcooked. Most of the time, that's an excuse not to do. Thinking is so fun, isn't it? Doing is real work. And most of the time, thinking is not the work. Doing is. And so just challenge you, don't delay.
I'm here to tell you that the things that are the biggest setbacks of your life, the things you might be most ashamed of, the biggest disappointments, the biggest failures where people have hurt you, or maybe you even hurt others, sins you've had, mistakes. I've had a divorce, so I'm disqualified from winning. Not true. Or I've had this setback. I've had a bankruptcy, or I had a business failure. I've just always been invisible and average, so I'm disqualified from ever doing something great in my life. And nothing could be further from the truth. It's the great lie of life. The great lie of our lives is we begin to stack things that didn't work out as evidence that we can't win in the future. We actually also literally think it disqualifies us somehow from winning. And I'm here to tell you that is a great lie that millions of people around the world are telling themselves. And what if I was to tell you that I think those same divorces, setbacks, failures, sins, mistakes, the average performance of your past are the very things that do qualify you to change other people's lives and fulfill your destiny. That's what I actually believe. In life, if you really want to impress people, show them how perfect you are. Show them your best Instagram photo, your biggest achievement, the best things you've done in your life, how happy and smart and amazing you are. You really impress people. And you'll connect with nobody. And you will change nobody's life. But on the other hand, if your ambition is to change other people's lives, is to make a difference with your own life, to make an impact on people's lives, then show them your imperfections. If you show them your imperfections, you will connect with them. Let me give you the best example in the world. Someone said this on my show many times. I've said it before. You are most qualified to help the person or people you used to be. Say that to you again. You are most qualified in your life to help the person or people you used to be. As many of you know, but some may not, my dad was an alcoholic and a drug addict for the first 15 years of my life. And then he got sober when I was 15, and he made one decision to do that and stayed sober one day at a time for the rest of his life. And I'm in the personal development, the change your life space because I believe human beings can change. In fact, I don't believe it. I know it. And the reason that I know it is because my own hero did it. I watched my dad live a particular way that wasn't great the first 15 years of my life. And then the next 35 years of my life, I watched him live as a completely different man. A magnificent life, a giving life, a kind life, a beautiful life, a heavenly life. So I know humans can change because I watched my hero do it. But what's most amazing about my dad's sobriety is I woke up one night many months ago crying in my sleep. And I woke up and I said to my wife, she goes, "What's wrong?" And I said, "You're not going to believe this, but I just realized something. Someone helped Daddy. Someone helped my dad." She goes, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "When Dad got sober, someone helped my dad change his life. Some precious human being stepped forward and said, I can help you. We're born in our life to do great things in our life, big and small, but we don't know when we're doing them, whether they're big or small. We don't know the ripple effects." And I said, someone helped my father in the worst moment of his life. My dad was either going to take his own life or lose his family. And in that terrible moment, I don't even know where it was. Was it a bar somewhere, an alley? I don't know who they are or where it happened. But what I know is some human being changed my dad's life, which then changed my life, and I've changed millions of people's lives. This precious human being has no idea that that one act, that one generosity, that one helping one person has impacted millions of people because they helped my father in that alley or that bar somewhere. Is that not remarkable? That one act, the ripple effect, has affected millions of people's lives. And that's not the most remarkable part of it, even though that's crazy to think that as a human, you have that power. You help one person
The ripple effects are unknown. That's not the most amazing part. The most amazing part is, what was it that qualified that precious human to help my father? What were their qualifications? The very things that most people would think disqualified them. The things that that person was most ashamed of, their biggest failures, their biggest sins. You know what qualified that person to help my dad? They were also an alcoholic at one time. They were also a drug addict at one time. They also lied and cheated and stole money and lived in the shadows. Actually, those were the very things God was using, the universe was using, to qualify that person to meet the moment, to help my dad when he was going to take his life or lose his family. I want you to understand and think about the power of that. The very thing that human being probably walked around most of their life thinking, now that's the weapon I use against me, why I can't win, why I can't be happy, why I can't help people, why I can't. Other people could win, just not someone like me. Not someone where I come from, not with my family, not with my background, not with my mistakes, not with the fact that I've always been average and ordinary, not the fact that I'm invisible. No. Sorry. Guess what? Those very things that you use as a weapon against you that you think disqualify you are the very things that do qualify you. That person didn't know all those years they were using drugs and suffering. All those years they were drinking alcohol and making mistakes and hurting other people and probably lying and probably stealing and probably living in the shadows. Every single one of those things was preparing them for that moment to help somebody who was the person they used to be, my dad. You are most qualified to help the person you used to be in your life. I'm a living proof of it. So are you. As you're listening to this or you're watching this, you are part of the ripple effect of that one act, that human being who helped my dad, who helped me, who's now helping you. What I hope you do today is you share this episode with somebody so that ripple continues. I want the world to understand one thing. You are not disqualified for making your dreams come true. I don't care. Some people think, well, that's what I look like. It's where I come from. It's the mistake I made. It's none of that crap. Those are the very things that are qualifying you right now, because you are most qualified to help the person you used to be. And by the way, that's why growing matters. Because every time you grow into a new version of you, you are most qualified to help the people who you used to be. Those people that I used to be. If you were once broke and now have figured out how to make money, you can help broke people. If you were once overweight and now are fit, you can help all those people. If you were once broke in and now are a little bit less broken, you can help broken people. If you were once invisible and average and ordinary and in despair, you can help people who feel average and ordinary and invisible and in despair. If you were once insecure and shy, and maybe you are right now, and lack self-confidence or lack direction or lack purpose, and then now you find it and discover it, you can help all those people in the world who currently lack purpose, lack confidence, lack inspiration. We are most qualified in our life to help the person or people we used to be, and never underestimate the ripple effect of you just saying, hey, I'm imperfect too, but this is what I've learned, and I'm here for you, and I love you, and I believe in you. I honestly believe that if this one message reached millions of people, we would have a different world. We'd be a little bit less judgmental. We'd give each other a little bit more grace. We'd have way more people pursuing their potential and their dreams. The reason I do this show is because I just have a lot of experience with failure. I have a lot of experience with setbacks and frustrations. I know what it's like to live scared. I know what it's like to live with negative emotions. I know what it's like to live afraid, to live angry, to be depressed. I know what it's like to be broken. Not perfect people. None of us are perfect. I want you to make your life something awesome. I want you to change other people's lives. And I know most of the time you feel disqualified to do it. And I hope today maybe you get a little bit of a glimpse of exactly how qualified you are. I think God's a really interesting dude. I think he sits there and goes, if I could just get my children to understand, I'm preparing you every day to make a difference in the world. I'm preparing you every day to change your own life, to change other people's lives, and that you're immensely qualified, that the DNA of the King of Kings runs through your bloodstream. I just want to remind you today, as you're listening to this, that you're born to do something awesome with your life. And I'm here to help you every step of the way, along the way. But you got to take the first step today. And that step today is just to believe that you're qualified. You're immensely qualified. You're immensely capable. You're awesome. with all your mistakes, all your weaknesses, all your sins, all the things you're not so good at, all the things that you wish you were better at that you see other people have. You wish you looked this way or talked that way or thought that way or had that family. You're perfectly you. You're perfectly you in this moment. And the minute you accept that, you understand how qualified you are to change your own life and to change other people's lives. And I think one of the things you could do today that would qualify you is to share my message, is to share these thoughts with people so that people maybe today get a little bit of a glimpse into what's possible. Your decisions shape your destiny, everybody. And the minute you decide that you're qualified, your life changes. And hopefully you decide to share this with somebody as well. God bless you, everybody. I'll see you next week.